Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's bee competition for the Cleveland Photographic Society. Before we get started with the competition, there are some announcements. We do have some upcoming Zoom presentations that I want you to be aware of. On March 19th, John Scalera will be in to talk about zoo photography. On April 2nd, Louis Kemper will be back, this time talking about night photography. And on April 9th, our own Richard Ader will be talking about 14 days through Mongolia. I do want to point out that these are all Zoom sessions, so to attend the Zoom session, you need to be a member, and we will be sending out a link probably on the Wednesday before these happen, so a few days before, so kind of watch for that link. And I do want to also point out that when we have an outside speaker, they request that these be for members only. So the first two that are here will be archived, and at some point we will make them available either as an encore presentation or through the website somehow. Richard, since he's a member, he is not concerned about making it members only. So after his presentation, it will be put up on YouTube where it's accessible by the public. So just to clarify that, again, these are all Zoom presentations. If you want to attend the Zoom presentation, you will be sent a link a couple days before the presentation. So kind of watch for that. A lot of people say, hey, I didn't get the link, and then we check, and sure enough, they did. So check your spam and junk mail to make sure it didn't end up there. Also, we have one more competition for this year. On March 26th, we have a photojournalism night, not a true competition, but photojournalism night. The deadline to enter that is March 24th, and that will wrap up the competition season for this club year. We'll start up again, I believe, probably in July sometime. You should be getting some information about the annual awards, the year-end awards, so kind of watch for that as well. That should be coming up in the next, I don't know, couple of weeks, I would think. Also, we want to make sure you're aware that enrollment for spring classes has begun. Lightroom, the Lightroom Classic course will start on March 23rd, the Intro to Photoshop Editing on April 7th, and Fundamentals of Good Photography on April 10th. You can go to the school page on our website to get more information and for forms to register for those courses. I do want to point out that there are new procedures for returning students. We do have a Student for Life policy, so if you've taken the course once and you want to retake it, you can sign up for that, but we're asking you to fill out a registration form. And please make sure when you send it back to us that you include that form filled out as an attachment. I've gotten a few back that did not have anything on them, so please be sure to send it back with that form filled out as an attachment. So again, we invite you to watch this and most Friday evening meetings at your convenience on the CPS YouTube channel. The link is on the CPS website homepage, or you can open YouTube and search for Cleve Photographic. And we invite you to subscribe to our website, subscribe to our channel rather, and choose to be notified whenever a new video is posted. Okay. So again, welcome. This is our fourth bee competition for the 2020-2021 year. Tonight we do have only 23 pictorial images, so this should be a fairly short meeting. And we want to kind of introduce you to the judges for the evening. With the bee competitions, we have individuals in the club that do the judging for us. So these are all people that you have either seen or have heard their names. Our first is Jackie Scienski. Jackie started in photography about 12 years ago with her love for it stemming from scrapbooking. She relocated from Erie, PA to Mentor, Ohio about 10 years ago. She wanted something that was going to help her learn the area and meet some Northeast Ohioans with similar interests. So she came across the Cleveland Photographic Society, signed up for one of the basic photography classes, and has been active ever since. Her photography has been published in several magazines. She participates in many gallery shows, and she currently has 3 images in the Erie Museum, Art Museum Spring Show. She won 3rd place in the Artist Archives of the Western Reserve New Now show, which is currently showing. And she is active in the arts community and is the current president of the Arts Commission in Mentor. Ron Wilson. Ron has been an avid photographer his entire life. He is a past president of CPS and has moved to southwestern Ohio, now lives in southwestern Ohio. He still competes, though, in many of the CPS digital competitions. He's always looking for new subjects and trying new techniques. In his own words, he says, "I appreciate the strength of simple compositions. Capturing the essence of a scene, a moment, or a feeling is what motivates me." And our 3rd judge is Ron Werman. Ron bought his first digital SLR in 2007. The same year he retired from teaching high school mathematics. That's something Ron and I have in common. I'm also a retired high school math teacher. He took pictures during his vacations and also pictures of school activities before joining the Cleveland Photographic Society. He's a frequent participant in CPS competitions. He served more than 5 years as the coordinator of the club's community service program. His favorite photo subjects are nature and architecture, but he's also drawn to landscapes and macro photography. He enjoys traveling with camera in hand, and trips have included the Galapagos Islands, Iceland, Costa Rica, and Italy. Now, for those that might not be familiar with our judging, here's the judging criteria. Each judge will score an image on a scale of 5 to 9. The final score for each image is the total of all 3 judges' scores. The images are judged on 3 separate criteria: impact, composition, and technique. Okay, so with that, again, with the B competitions, the topic is pictorial, so really anything goes in pictorial. So we don't have a separate theme other than pictorial. All right, so let's get started.
Ron says, "The story that this image is telling is clear, that of a scuba diver following a shark along the ocean floor. The image is clear and sharp, which is not always easy when underwater. Because the viewer's eye is drawn to the bright blue flipper, cropping off the right side of the image would direct the viewer to the story that the image is trying to tell."
Okay, the image is called "Be Very, Very Quiet, Petite St. Vincent" by Mike Gall, 20 points.
Ronald says, "The correct exposure here brings out the wonderful colors of the scene. There's very good depth here, from the tree framing the scene on the left to the distant mountain and cloud on the far right. The foreground is more interesting than the sky, so I would crop about half of the sky off the top. This raises the horizon up to a rule of thirds line and improves the composition."
The image is called "Costa Rican Morning" by Amber Kravitz, 21 points.
Jackie says, "Very appealing photograph. The combination of red and white adds a cheerful feel with good impact. The circular winter berries and arches caused by the heavy load add nice geometric shapes and lines. These are elements that are good to keep in mind when creating a composition. The exposure is very well handled. You did a nice job exposing to the right to keep the snow and ice looking sparkling and white. I love the shine and wet look the melting ice created. It almost turns this into a food photography style of shot. For me, it's all about that curving group of 3-ish berries and the arching branch and stems. If you are comfortable practicing different cloning techniques in Photoshop or Lightroom, I would experiment with cleaning up and tightening the composition. Consider a square crop and cloning out the berries along the bottom and top."
The image is called "Icy Berries" by Jacqueline Murray, 24 points, second place.
The blue, yellow, and green work very nicely together, and the out-of-focus clouds around the larger buttercup are nice. My eye is first drawn to the larger buttercup, and so I would have focused on that flower. Ron says, since you appear to be lying in the grass photographing upward, it would have been easy to pull out the grass seed on the far left and the taller grass on the right, which can distract.
The image is called Idyllic Feeling by Sarah Whalen, 21 points.
Ronald says, congratulations on your original idea. I find it very interesting. Too bad that shiny surface across the bottom becomes such a distraction. I would crop some off the top and a lot from the right. This would make the leaf more prominent. I would be tempted to try to pull the leaf up to see more of it. Anyway, I'll be taking my camera with me next time I have to clean the gutters.
The image is entitled In the Gutter by Sarah Whalen, 20 points.
What a great subject you spotted, Jackie says. I bet this street performer would love to have a copy of this creative interpretation. I like your choice to try some creative post-processing techniques. I find the colors appealing and your composition well done. The pops of red and the cobalt blues add to the visual impact. I really want to keep my eyes on the subject as I think he benefited from the treatment you applied. However, my eyes are being pulled away by the unnatural looking out of focus area in the front. If you still have a file of this with your working layers, I would remove the Gaussian blur if that was done. It appears you've done a lot of cloning to the brick and the tile floor. That is a great way to clean up an image from distracting elements, which may have been your purpose. Unfortunately, sometimes when cloning is used, it repeats patterns. I believe that's what's happening in the back left side of this image. Sometimes, just making your cloning tool smaller and varying your selection area frequently will help stop this unwanted stamping pattern. I think this is showing some very cool work on your part, as well as the initial image captured. I do think if you worked a bit more on the cloning and bringing some focus back to the front, this could be even stronger.
The image is entitled Little Havana in South Beach, Florida by Diane Glatzer, 21 points.
Ron says, this image of 3 narcissus flowers is nicely composed with good lighting. With the viewer's eye drawn to the larger flower on top, it is good that is the one that's in focus. The dark red background is not distracting and complements the red in the flowers.
The image is called Narcissus Poeticus by Jacqueline Murray, 23 points, third place.
Ronald says, great job, love it. Lots of impact here with the close-up, sharpness, and correct exposure of the white fur. The paw on the left keeps the subject from being centered. What are the chances of getting this same shot with the eyes open?
The image is called Slumber Pup by Julie Holland, 24 points, second place.
Jackie says, lovely main subject and nice, comfortable, relaxed expression. The tonality and colors work well. Compositionally, this seems like 2 photographs. It would seem less so if the post in the background was eliminated. This could fairly easily be removed using Content Aware in Photoshop. I don't think it would be hard to accomplish in Lightroom either. The photographer's hand and back has been overexposed, and you won't be able to bring those details back. Because of this, I would suggest turning this into a lovely portrait, cropping to portrait orientation of just the model. Since the woman is looking at you, the other photographer really isn't adding much to the story. He's become more of a distracting element. I would clone out the engraved street name on the curb also. I find it helpful when looking at compositions to ask yourself if details are adding to the composition or not. If not, try to eliminate them before capturing the image or in post-processing.
The image is called Smile for the Camera by Gary Marich, 19 points.
Ron says, this is a beautiful image of a tropical sunrise or sunset. The colors of the sky are beautiful, and it's nice that the foreground also picks up these colors. The 2 taller palm trees are nicely placed, and they frame the lighter pink of the lower sky between them. Nicely done.
The image is called Sunset by the Pool by Amber Kravitz, 22 points, honorable mention.
Ronald says, nice selection of buildings in this cityscape. Most interesting is the orange glow reflected in some of the buildings. I think the image is too dark. Try to brighten it up without losing the highlights. I would crop the sides to emphasize the buildings in the center from the brightest one to the tallest one. Maybe play with the saturation to see if the color can be improved.
The image is called Sunset in New York City by Carla Merkel, 22 points, honorable mention.
Jackie says, very cool glimpse of someone's old faithful truck. Love the warm colors and textures. The lighting on the truck itself is very nice. You've created nice diagonal layers in this composition, bringing in the tracks and the fence line, but the background is too bright and pulls the viewer's eye from the subject. I see this as a fine art category. There's a market for the old rusty cars that show their well-worn patinas and age. To enhance that quality, it would have been preferable to move more to the right and fill your frame with the truck. Working on this image as rendered here, I would darken your background so it isn't pulling our eye. Sliding your highlight slider to the left would really affect the background area and that weed in front of the bumper while not altering the truck much. You could try using adjustment brushes to restrict the changes to specific areas. I really like the colors you have here, but I think this could also be a very nice black and white image.
The image is called Time to Rest by Carla Merkel, 20 points.
Ron says, with currents and sea creature movement, it can be challenging to get a subject in focus when photographing underwater. Not having the creatures in focus distracts. The yellow one standing out from its surroundings makes it obvious that it is the subject with its sidekick as secondary. Cropping in closer would help to make them be more prominent.
The image is called Trumpetfish Islas Secas by Mike Gall, 17 points.
Ronald says, gotta love this hat. Took a moment to realize the hat is hanging on the toe of the boot. Good eye to find this. The crop is very tight, maybe to eliminate other things. Too bad the background's so light. Maybe try to darken the background. It won't be easy.
The image is called Vaqueros Stetson by Gary Marich, 20 points.
Jackie says, perhaps a view of the romantic coastal village of Positano. I'm not sure I've ever been there, so I love to see photos like this that transport me there. Love everything about this. I like seeing the people in the image too, also. It gives this more of a sense that it's a lively location. Nice deep depth of field, being sharp front back, and gradually softening while drifting into what might be the Amalfi Coast. This vantage provides lovely curves, shapes, and textures. The tonal ranges and shadows, even in the white buildings, are lovely, and would make this a fun but somewhat challenging puzzle.
The image is called Village of Oia on the island of Santorini, Greece by Diane Glatzer, 25 points, first place.
Ron says, I love the aqua color with the underwater plants somewhat silhouetted by the aqua. The underwater cliff takes up about half the image with its lack of light and detail. That's a drawback. Trying to have the composition not have so much of that would improve it. This could be achieved by showing just the upper third.
The image is called Deep Sea Landscape Silhouette by Jacqueline Murray, 20 points.
Ronald says, this image is successful in showing a small critter in a large habitat. Maybe too much to be able to appreciate the ant. The photo needs to be brightened up, not especially interesting. Maybe wait for the ant to find something to carry home.
The image is called Drive Away Ant by Sarah Whalen, 18 points.
Jackie says, perhaps springtime in New York City? The image to me is this young man tucked in against the monument, taking a break and doing some reading. I like the floral foreground and the spring blossoms above him and the statue. I find the right side of this image takes away the impact. I would crop this vertically right after the rose bush. I think that would keep this more intimate and be more about this gentleman finding this little spot of peace and tranquility. I really like that he's not paying attention to you. It's just a very nice candid and not a formal posed awkward image you often see of tourists around monuments.
The image is called Manhattan 1 by Carla Merkel, 22 points, honorable mention.
Ron says, this is a wonderful image of two hawks. The hawks are sharp with eyes visible. They're near each other, but the closer one does not block the body of the other. Their placement on the diagonal branch from lower left to upper right allows the viewer to travel through the image. The blurry background helps the hawks to stand out. My only suggestion is that the trunk could be cropped out so as not to distract. Nice job.
The image is called Red-Shouldered Hawks Visit My Yard by Julie Holland. 22 points, honorable mention.
Colorful, Ronald says, colorful scene with lots of detail, sharp and well exposed. The composition is good, with space on the right going out to the open water. The red building is in a good rule of thirds position. The lighting would probably be more dramatic in the early morning or late afternoon.
The image is called Rockport, Massachusetts by Diane Glatzer. 23 points, third place.
Jackie says, if this is an aquarium image, you did a very nice job dealing with external reflections that would be typical. Unfortunately, what's missing in this capture is the vivid colors that can be found in underwater life. If you use Lightroom, there are a couple adjustments that might really bring some pop to this image. I would play with the dehaze slider. This might bring out some of the details in the sea turtle and the floor. I can see there's some reds and greens in the plants. I would enhance this with working with your vibrance and saturation sliders. I generally prefer to push up the vibrance and sometimes actually pull down the saturation. I would also play with the tone curve. I think you have a lot of room in your exposure here to bring out more details in the shadows and push your highlights more. The drama is starting here. You have a nice scene to work with and a nice subject. You just need to bring it to more life.
The image is called Sea Turtle Islas Secas by Mike Gall. 19 points.
Ron says, this image tells in no uncertain terms that a woman is grilling at an event. To make the story more compelling, capturing her face by photographing from the other side would be better at showing her expression as she's the main subject. Getting a higher perspective from that other side would be better to show what's being grilled and where her attention is drawn.
The image is called Snow's Barbecue, Lexington, Texas, Tootsie Tomanitz by Gary Marich. 17 points.
Ronald says, lots of interest in this uncommon subject. There's some litter in the street that can be easily removed. The sky in the upper right appears to be saturated and is contrasty. It distracts from the photo. I'm uncomfortable seeing the man with his hand on his face. Didn't he want his picture taken? Seems like a grab shot. Been there, done that. Try to learn to slow down and talk to the person before you shoot. Ask about his animals. Ask if you can shoot his animals. Then ask if you can shoot him with his animals. Good luck.
The image is called The Oxcart Man by Amber Kravitz. 21 points. And that concludes tonight's competition. For more information about competing or to join the Cleveland Photographic Society, please visit our website, www.clevelandphoto.org. We want to thank all of our judges, and I especially want to thank Sarah Zietlow for doing all the reading for the judges tonight. And thanks to all who entered, and congratulations to our winners. If you have some feedback about this competition or about any of the competitions or any CPS activities, please send us your feedback at info@clevelandphoto.org. So good night, everyone, and stay safe.